guys, welcome back to my channel, Marissa Explains It All. And today I'm going to be discussing and doing swatches on the new Makeup Geek duochrome shadows and pigments that were just released. And what I decided to do, instead of just doing swatches and discussion about the quality of the products, I thought I would go ahead and compare new Makeup Geek shadows and pigments to stuff that I already own so that you can dupe them. Or rather, you can dupe the more expensive product, because Makeup Geek, the duochrome shadows are $6 a piece and the pigments are $12 a piece, which are significantly less than a lot of the products I'm going to be showing you. So I guess I'll just go ahead and jump in. What I'm first going to do is swatch the pigments and shadows that I couldn't find dupes for, at least not in my collection. Not to say that they don't exist, I just don't own anything that is similar or exactly right. I did go through and swatch them next to colors I thought that looked similar, but they just weren't. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the shadows, and there are 4 of them that I couldn't find any colors. Here they are, that were similar. So I will go ahead and start with this one here, which is called Typhoon. Here's Typhoon. Then this next one here is Ritzy. There. And this next green one is called Secret Garden. And then the 4th one is Steampunk. Okay, so that is Steampunk here on my pinky. Then on my ring finger is Typhoon. Then the next one is Ritzy. And the next one is Secret Garden. So let me do the swatches on my arm. So there is Secret Garden, Ritzy, Typhoon, and Steampunk. And so there are the shades and the duochrome, and you can see that the swatches are really opaque. Beautiful colors, those Makeup Geek shadows. Now I'm going to swatch the pigments that I couldn't find any dupes for in my collection. And not to say that they don't exist again, but I just don't have anything. The first one I'm going to start with is Kaleidoscope, and Kaleidoscope looks like a gray purple in the jar. So it's like you could see it's a silvery, purpley, blue, teal. That's Kaleidoscope. I would say Kaleidoscope is a multi-chrome. It's more than a duochrome. It has several color shifts in it. So there is Mood Ring, and then here it is on my arm, and it is a gray base, a light gray base with a pink purple shift. So that's Mood Ring there next to Kaleidoscope. I will move on to Chameleon. There is Chameleon. Here. There's Chameleon. It's a green with like a yellow goldy shift. All right. This next one is called Prism, and it looks just like white in the jar. So there is Prism. It's swatched. There it is. You could see the orange shift in it. There. And the last one, the last pigment that I couldn't find one that was similar in my collection, is called Hologram. It has, see, it's orange with a gold shift to it. It's Hologram. You can see it's an orange with a gold shift. So those are the pigments, the ones I couldn't find dupes for in my collection. All right, now I'm going to move on to the ones that I could find very similar colors for in my collection. Since I just swatched pigments, I think I will stick to the pigments just because I'm eager to put these suckers away, because I don't want to have an accident and dump a bunch of crap all over my desk and make a huge mess. So I'm going to start with this Makeup Geek pigment, which is in the shade Wildfire. And I will swatch it here on my finger. And this one is very similar to MAC's Rose pigment, which is right there. So I'll swatch them both on my fingers. So here's Makeup Geek Wildfire, and here's MAC's Rose pigment. And you can see they're just like really similar. So here is the Makeup Geek Wildfire and MAC's Rose pigment. the Makeup Geek Wildfire is definitely a dupe for MAC's Rose pigment. So if that's a pigment you've always wanted and you wanted a more affordable alternative, the Makeup Geek pigments are $12 again. So the next one that I thought was very similar to some other things that I owned was this one, this pigment in the shade Sugar Rush. And it looks like just a plain old white, but in actuality, it has a blue and purple shift to it. So that's Sugar Rush there. But then I thought it was very similar to Sugar Pill's Lumi, so I'll go ahead and swatch that one next. Lumi is a little bit more powdery and less pigmented. So there is Lumi, there's Makeup Geek Sugar Rush, and there's Sugar Pill Lumi. The consistency is not the same. I actually have to say I prefer the Makeup Geek one. Lumi is more glittery and less, it's just more powdery and less pigmented. The other one the other pigment that I have that is very similar is Jessie's Girl in the shade Secret Weapon. Still have to say that I like Makeup Geek's formula better. So there's the Jessie's Girl one there. So here's Makeup Geek, Sugar Pill, Jessie's Girl. Just the quality is better. Jessie's Girl is really, really affordable. You can get it at CVS, and I don't know, I want to say they're like $3.99. So this wouldn't be Makeup Geek is more expensive than Jessie's Girl, so it wouldn't be a dupe, but the shades are very similar. So if you own that one already and you don't think you need to go out and purchase Makeup Geek's to replace it. However, just by looking at them, the Jessie's Girl one is very powdery, very chalky, I should say, and the Sugar Pill one is just less opaque and more like a glitter topper, and then Makeup Geek is more like a true pigment. So I'll go ahead and swatch them on my arm. So here's Makeup Geek Sugar Rush, here is Sugar Pill's Lumi, and then here's Jessie's Girl's Secret Agent. And you can see they're a white with a blue lavender shift, and you see how Lumi, the one in the middle, the Sugar Pill one, is just more sheer and it's more like a topper, not a straight pigment. Okay, now the last pigment that I have of the Makeup Geek in the Makeup Geek collection is the shade Insomnia. This one isn't new to this collection. It's one that's been out for a while, but this is an easily dupeable shade. This is a shade that I would say most companies probably do the most of duochrome. It's done the most often. It's a green with a red-brown shift. So here is Makeup Geek's Insomnia. It's very similar to MAC's Blue Brown pigment, which I'll go ahead and swatch right next to it. Here's Insomnia, and here's MAC's Blue Brown. Let me go ahead and swatch them on my arm. Insomnia and Blue Brown. So you can see they're very, very similar. I mean, I would say that they're pretty much a dead-on dupe. There's the Makeup Geek and there's the MAC pigment in Blue Brown. So if you own Insomnia or you want to get Insomnia, it's absolutely a dupe for MAC's Blue Brown. Okay, so that was the pigment portion of the dupes, but I'm going to move on to staying in the same color vein. I'm going to move on to the shade in the Makeup Geek Duochrome, which is called Havoc, which is a pressed shadow. But again, it's the same, it's a red-brown base with a dark green shift, and there are so many companies that make this color, again, in a pressed shadow form. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch the Makeup Geek one. So this is Havoc here. And then I'm going to swatch MAC's Club right next to it. There. I actually think I prefer the Makeup Geek Havoc to MAC's Club because it's shinier. MAC's Club seems more matte. And then another one that is very similar is Urban Decay's Lounge. There's Urban Decay Lounge. And in the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette, there's also a shade that is very similar. So it's just a definer shade. There's no name, but it's right here. And I will put this one on my pinky. And this is a really nice shade. I mean, for a drugstore brand, this is a really nice. I mean, you've probably heard about this if you've watched a lot of videos, the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette. So as you can see, there are a lot of companies that make this shade in particular. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch them for you right next to each other. So there's the Wet n Wild. Here is Makeup Geek. This is MAC Club. And this last one is Urban Decay. So there they are. And you know, it's crazy because I don't know about you, but looking at the swatches, I would say that MAC's, this one, Club, is actually the worst one out of the bunch. It's not as opaque and the pigment just isn't as strong as the others. And this one is the Makeup Geek. So if you own Urban Decay's Lounge or the Wet n Wild palette, I don't necessarily think you have to get the Makeup Geek shadow in Havoc, but you can see there it is there. And the next one I'm going to move on to is the Makeup Geek one, shadow in Rockstar. Here it is. And when I first saw this, I thought that looks like Max Vex. So here's Vex and here is Rockstar. Let me go ahead and swatch those for you. It is like a gray with a pink shift. There's Makeup Geek's Rockstar and there is Max Vex. Let me just swatch them. Makeup Geek and MAC. Again, I think the Makeup Geek outdoes MAC, and it's cheaper and a dupe for it. So if you want Vex, I don't know if the duochrome is really showing up. This is one that I have to say the duochromosity in it isn't that intense, isn't as intense as the other ones. So if you were gonna not buy one, I would say this one was the one that I wouldn't buy. I just feel like the duochromosity in it isn't as intense and bright. So that is the comparison with Makeup Geek's Rockstar and Max Vex. Now these next two are like dead on dupes. Like there's no question in my mind. I'm like, do they go to the same factory and get these shadows made at the same factory? Because they are so exact, it's insane. So this is Makeup Geek's Blacklight and this is Urban Decay's Tonic. And the price difference, I think Urban Decay, I want to say they're $16 or $18, and again, Makeup Geek, these shadows are $6. So you're saving quite a bit of money there. Here is Makeup Geek's Blacklight, and here's Urban Decay's Tonic. So purple with a blue shift. There we go. There's Makeup Geek, and there is Urban Decay. So lavender with a blue shift, and you can see they're basically the exact same color. So if you wanted to get the shade Tonic and it was sold out, or you couldn't get your hands on it, you don't want to spend that much, get Makeup Geek's Blacklight because it is dead on. And then I'm going to just keep those on there on my arm because I want to move on to the next one that is like so identical, it's not even funny. So here is Makeup Geek Mai Tai, and here's Urban Decay's Fireball. So again, here is Mai Tai, Makeup Geek Mai Tai, and Urban Decay Fireball on my middle finger there. And let me swatch them for you. And in the same vein, when I was going through my shadows, I also have this NYX shadow in the shade Golden Peach, which is another really affordable dupe. So I'll just swatch that one right next to those. So there is it on my finger, swatched right next to it. There is Golden Peach. So here's Makeup Geek, Urban Decay, NYX. All really similar shades. Next two that I'm going to show you are Makeup Geek's I'm Peachless and Max Motif. Makeup Geek's I'm Peachless, and here's Max Motif. And again, I have to say I prefer the Makeup Geek version. It is shinier, and the MAC version is just a little bit more powdery and matte. Here is Makeup Geek, and here is MAC. And I'm sorry if they're hard. Let me double swatch that MAC one there. Okay, now these are not really showing up on my skin, and I apologize, but this is Max Motif. I got a little closer for these ones. So there's Max Motif, which, I mean, it pretty much blends into my skin. It's actually kind of a crappy shade now that I have this one that is just better quality. I mean, the Makeup Geek one is more shimmery, and I'm sorry, they're very similar to my skin tone, but you can hardly see the MAC one, the Motif shade. And then Makeup Geek's is just more intense. In fact, when I use Motif, I always put down a base so that the color pops more, because I just am not really happy. I love the color. It's like a peach with a pink shift, but I just am not happy with the performance. So moving on, the next Makeup Geek shadow is Karma, which is this really pretty gold green shift shade is there. And then I thought it was very similar to Kat Von D Devotion, her duochromes. So that's Kat Von D. But they actually aren't very similar at all when I swatched them out. And then, but just for if you're watching all the videos and you're like, that looks like this or that looks like that, I wanted to show you guys so that you could see that they're not the same. The next one I'm going to compare it to is MAC's Old Gold. So it's not really a dupe for anything. So there's Makeup Geek's Karma, And there's Kat Von D Devotion, and there is Old Gold by MAC, a pigment. So there's Old Gold, MAC, there's the Kat Von D one, and there is the Makeup Geek one. So Makeup Geek is a lot shinier and more yellow than the other two. So really not the same at all. But I wanted to show you guys, in case you're watching any other videos or you know, just print swatches of these shadows and you think, hey, that kind of looks like this one that I own. You can see that they are not the same. The last one that I have that I thought I had a dupe for was the shade Voltage, which is a white with a yellow shift there. And I have a pigment, a Jessie's Girl pigment in the shade Kiwi Rose. The Makeup Geek is a lot better quality. Jessie's Girl is more affordable. I want to say it's like $3 or $4. Makeup Geek pigment is $12. Here is the Makeup Geek shadow in Voltage, and then here is the Jessie's Girl pigment. Let me go ahead and swatch them for you. So there's Makeup Geek and there's Jessie's Girl. So not, again, not the same. They look the same on the finger, but then when I swatch them out, you know, the Makeup Geek is obviously better quality. So here's the Makeup Geek shadow in Voltage, and then here's the Jessie's Girl pigment in Kiwi Rose. I just realized I have this random stray laying here that I thought I could find something that was similar to it, but I couldn't, and it is the Makeup Geek shadow in Phantom. So I'll just swatch it here for you. Sorry, I got lost in my mess of my desk here. I have pigments and shadows all over, so I think it just got misplaced. But there is Phantom, Makeup Geek's Phantom. I forgot to include it at the beginning with my swatches there, but I couldn't find a dupe for it. It is that I own. That is my video comparing some of the Makeup Geek new duochrome shadows and pigments to other things that you may own or that they're dupes for, like in the case of the Urban Decay shadows. Those are absolutely dupes for those. So you know, the Makeup Geek shadows are much more affordable. So those are my swatches, my review, and my comparison of all of the Makeup Geek duochrome shadows and pigments. And I also filmed a look that I'm wearing today with some of the Makeup Geek pigments, so I'll go ahead and link that down below once I upload it, probably after this video. So if you want to see that, stay tuned. But if you like my videos, then go ahead and like and subscribe, and you'll see more from me later. Okay, thanks. Bye!